From the unspeakable cold of the intergalactic void, an immeasurable alien intelligence moves ever closer. Barren husks of countless star systems lie in its wake. The first tendrils of the great devourer, a single entity stretching over light years of space and controlled by the immortal hive mind, have probed our galaxy and found it rich in prey. It has begun to feed. Oldex, Codex Tyranids, 4th edition. Introduction. Written by Phil Kelly and Andy Chambers, with additional text by Andy Hoare and Graham McNeill. Pages 1 to 3. Narrated by R.J. Bailey. With great thanks to Alistair for donating this copy of Codex Tyranids. Apologies for the state of my voice. I've just come to the end of narrating an audiobook for my day job, a particularly rigorous one which required a lot of intense voices. As a result, I sound like this. But it's been far too long since the last Oldex, and this galaxy isn't going to devour itself. Introduction.
There is a cancer eating at the Imperium. With each decade it advances deeper, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose that functions on an unimaginable galactic scale, and all we can do is try to stop the swarms of bioengineered monsters it unleashes upon us almost by instinct. We have given the horror a name to salve our fears. We call it the Tyranid race. But if it is aware of us at all, it must know us only as prey. Inquisitor Sevak. Welcome to Codex Tyranids. Within these pages, you will find all you need to guide you in collecting, painting, and gaming with a Tyranid horde in the Warhammer 40,000 game. The Tyranids are an alien race from the cold depths of the void that hunger constantly for warm flesh. They infest the stars in their billions, a raw force of destruction that has been likened to a locust swarm, remorselessly hungry and far too numerous to stop. When a hive fleet locates a planet that is rich in life, ravening armies of voracious warrior organisms descend upon it as one. In a matter of days, the planet's inhabitants are slaughtered like cattle, and their corpses are dissolved into a biological gruel from which new Tyranid organisms are grown. In this manner, the swarms constantly replenish themselves with ever more efficient killers, born not only from their own dead, but also that of their prey. When the culling is complete and every shred of biomass is assimilated, the Tyranids drift on to the next world, leaving a ball of scoured rock in their wake. Why collect a Tyranid army? The Tyranids are an exceptionally powerful close combat army with a unique style of warfare. To let a Tyranid army reach your lines is a grave mistake indeed. Each model in the army is a beast of war specifically engineered for a certain battlefield role. When used properly, the Tyranid army functions as a hyper-efficient predator that few can stand against, and fewer still survive. The wide variety of options available to the Tyranid player makes this army extremely flexible. Some generals prefer to field a pure assault army, red in tooth and claw, while others may utilize powerful symbiote weapons. For some players, there is nothing more satisfying than outnumbering the enemy twice or even 3 times over with a scuttling horde of gaunts. On the other end of the spectrum are full armies of Tyranid monstrous creatures, lumbering powerhouses capable of ripping apart an enemy squad without sustaining a scratch. Often the most successful tactic is to take a combined arms force that works in perfect harmony with you, the player, as its hive mind. But if this versatility is at the heart of what makes the Tyranid force such an engaging army to use, the true appeal of the Tyranids is their visceral horror. No enemy fights the Tyranids without the ever-present fear that they will overwhelm and slaughter his carefully chosen force of heroes. Tyranids, on the other hand, are cogs in a merciless alien killing machine, existing only to serve the gestalt consciousness of the hive mind. As such, you can cheerfully expend your broods with no more angst than if you were expending ammunition. There are always thousands more. The cinematic image of a malignant alien swarm is familiar to many of us already. No shades of grey here. With the Tyranids, it is always kill or be killed. They are the perfect bad guys, easily identifiable and petrifying to face. The other great bonus of the Tyranid army is the sheer scope of modeling and converting options inherent in the range. You can easily interchange claws, heads, and biomorphs to create your own unique creatures. Painting a Tyranid army can be simplicity itself. A little time spent on getting just the right color scheme will allow you to production line great broods of gaunts in no time. Whatever approach you decide to take, the entire army can be given a powerfully themed look, which, when deployed for battle, will look spectacular. Feyruthiel and her squadron careened alongside the fractured glaciaic domes, the smooth lines of their jet bikes cutting through the spore-choked air. The designs on the dome walls blurred into one, but still the loathsome winged Tyranids pursuing them kept pace. She banked sharply as a telltale buzzing indicated another incoming volley of flesh beetles disgorged from the Tyranids' weapon beasts, her squad following in perfect synchronization before diving through a splintered archway. Lurian convulsed as a pair of shiny boar beasts burrowed into his back, and he smashed into the delicate dome walls with a loud crack. A spray of colored glaciaic rained down around the fiery wreckage of his bike onto the battle below. Feyruthiel shouted terse commands to her comrades as they raced through the soaring arches of the vast dome's roof. "Bank and open fire, cousins! On my mark!" she ordered, fear rich in her tone. The squadron braked sharply, pinwheeling round and stopping dead to face a cloud of fanged maws and leathery wings. "No!" shouted Feyruthiel, and 100 times 100 razor-edged shuriken scythed into the chitinous bodies of their pursuers. Black ichor spurted and tattered bodies plummeted from the skies. For a second, hope flickered in Feyruthiel's heart. Suddenly, the air filled with the snap of wings, as something the size of a grav tank dropped from the domed roof into their ranks, lashing out with enormous bladed limbs and killing 3 of her squad. Feyruthiel panicked, slamming her bike into reverse as the beast whipped its bulbous head round. It screamed, a bolt of incandescent light spearing from its jaws into the last of her squad. The resultant explosion almost knocked Feyruthiel from her saddle. Without looking back, Feyruthiel leveled out and sped over a rolling landscape obscured by a rippling tide of sprinting aliens. A roaring leader beast waded through their ranks, flanked by walking hulks of bone and muscle. Below her, knots of brave Eldar warriors buckled and gave way, disappearing under the sheer weight of screeching, stabbing beasts. Tears of anger ran down Feyruthiel's cheeks. How could this be happening? Crouching low over the readout display, Feyruthiel drove the jet bike faster still, gun beasts and warriors blurring into an indistinct mass of claw and carapace below. Too late, she saw a trio of scythe-armed beasts leap into the air before her, smashing into the jet bike's prow. The bike corkscrewed downward, trailing oily black smoke before plowing into the ranks of the aliens below. Crawling from the mangled remains, Feyruthriel looked up with blood-filled eyes to see a creature 20 times her size staring at her with malign intelligence. It reached down with a massive claw, plucking her bodily from the wreckage as easily as she would have plucked ripe fruit from a tree. There was a single, still moment as it brought Feyruthriel close to its face, flailing and desperate. Then, with a sickening crunch, the moment passed. You have been listening to Oldex, Codex Tyranids, 4th edition, Introduction, written by Phil Kelly and Andy Chambers, with additional text by Andy Hoare and Graham McNeill, pages 1 to 3, narrated by R.J. Bailey. Great thanks go to Alistair for donating this copy of Codex Tyranids. Thank you to Phil Kelly, Andy Chambers, Andy Hoare, and Graham McNeill for writing the fiction I grew up with. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a review where you found it, or like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, depending how you're listening. This production, like all of Oldex, is entirely unofficial and uncommercial, from an out-of-print publication, is a derivative work with all copyrights owned by Games Workshop, and is a celebration of the hobby and lore I grew up with. If you have suggestions for other old Codex fiction for me to narrate on this podcast, you can comment, contact me on Twitter at rjbailey, or email robertjbailey@gmail.com. Links are in the show description.